Thank you for viewing this module today to practice applying the hospital to school transition process to a sample student. Before we start, I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Kelsey Gordon. I am a fourth-year doctoral student in the school psychology program at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And before beginning with our content, I would like to introduce the BIRCh Project to those of you joining us for the first time in this module series. The BIRCh Project is the Behavioral Health Integrated Resources for Children project. Its mission is to provide professional development and resources to schools, as well as to strengthen coordination of behavioral health supports across school and community agencies. The BIRCh Project is led by faculty members from the University of Massachusetts Boston and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. It is sponsored by Boston Children's Hospital. For more information, please check out our website at umb.edu/BIRCh. We are going to begin this module by getting to know a case study student named Gray. Gray is an 11th grade student attending a public high school. Gray identifies as transgender and as Latinx. Presently, they live with their mother, father, and 2 younger siblings. Gray has many interests and strengths, including their involvement in extracurricular activities, such as soccer, and their overall perseverance. Gray's peers describe them as supportive, and their teachers strongly value their determination. Gray is also navigating challenges with anxiety and depression, and has a history of suicidal ideation and suicide attempts. Most recently, Gray was hospitalized and admitted to a youth inpatient psychiatric unit following a suicide attempt. They are expected to return to school within a week. After receiving inpatient psychiatric care, Gray was discharged with a plan to see an outpatient psychiatrist and a therapist for both counseling support and medication management. Additional supports presently in place for Gray and their community include their college-age mentor through the local Boys and Girls Club, participation in an after-school program, and engagement in the local soccer team. In 7th grade, Gray was evaluated for special education services at their parents' request due to challenges with academics and difficulty focusing. At this time, Gray was not found eligible for special education or a 504 plan. Despite experiencing these challenges, Gray continues to be very resilient. They have maintained strong grade point averages and consistent attendance. Gray's teachers feel that Gray is an extremely smart and high-achieving student. However, lately they have noticed that Gray has been withdrawn and has been decreasing in their overall engagement and participation throughout the school day. Gray reports that it has been increasingly stressful managing their academics. Their parents state that Gray can often be hypervigilant about their schoolwork and very self-critical and easily frustrated. With equity, cultural responsivity, and social justice at the foundation for developing supports for our students, we have included some critical discussion points for teams to consider throughout the hospital to school transition process. For Gray in particular, the equity considerations being highlighted include gender identification, racial, ethnic background, and health access barriers. To provide a bit more context for this student and their family, Gray identifies as a transgender youth. Additionally, they identify as Latinx, as does their family. Gray's caregivers have voiced that they would like the team to be especially mindful of Gray's pronouns and gender identity related challenges. Regarding managing their gender transition, Gray has been a strong advocate for themselves at school. However, peer and teacher relationships and mental health have continued to be challenging at times. Currently, due to employment challenges and changes in insurance, it has been extremely hard for Gray's parents to find consistent counseling services for Gray. As a team, we want to examine the ways that our knowledge and competencies related to gender identity, cultural identity and differences, and our biases may be impacting how we're viewing Gray's behavior and mental health challenges. We will also want to leverage the strength of Gray and their family while collaborating to support them. Questions that we can consider include: what types of supports does Gray need to continue to feel safe and supported in school? What are the triggers that Gray experiences in the school setting, and how will the team respond to these crisis situations? How are we placing the culture, voice, and perspective of the family at the forefront of our collaboration efforts? What supports does Gray's family need to navigate challenges related to supporting a youth with suicidal ideation, and as well as navigating gender identity related challenges? What supports do Gray's parents need to access mental health services, and which barriers are they currently experiencing? Additionally, how can we support Gray's parents in navigating communication across all of these complex systems and all of these different providers? The timeline pictured here serves to guide the teaming and planning process to support Gray's return to home and school routines over the course of approximately 12 to 16 weeks. The next few slides will focus on teaming, collaboration, team roles and responsibilities, a suggested timeline of meetings, intervention implementation, and progress monitoring. If you'd like to see more examples of interventions, care coordination, communication, and progress monitoring processes, please feel free to refer to the sample completed hospital to school transition protocol that's available for this case study student. The planning phase marks the beginning of the hospital to school transition process. It is where we can begin to decide who will be on Gray's support team and gather relevant information prior to Gray returning to school. In Gray's school, the school counselor serves as the point person responsible for initiating the hospital to school transition process. Their role is to gather contact information and coordinate potential meeting dates with the key individuals from their school, family, hospital, and community that will be a part of Gray's support team throughout this process. Again, these responsibilities can include things such as gathering information that will inform this process, such as discharge summaries from the hospital and family, or the educational history from the school. It may also be useful to include things such as attendance and disciplinary records and any missed instructional time. Another key aspect of this process is ensuring that we have the appropriate releases of information so that we can establish really clear and solid communication and collaboration between the family, school, and hospital-based providers. Prior to Gray's return to school, the school counselor can set up a welcome meeting with the key individuals of Gray's support team. While ideally, we would hope to have all of these team members present, realistically, not all of the individuals will be able to attend. This is a situation in which the team will certainly have to prioritize attendance and then work to communicate details of the plan to other key individuals that want to play a key role in supporting Gray. At the Welcome Back team meeting, this is an opportunity for the hospital school transition protocol to be reviewed and completed to the maximum extent possible. This meeting serves as an opportunity to review information such as Gray's hospital discharge paperwork, address immediate concerns of the student and their family, review current school records, and begin planning for Gray's return to school. A majority of this meeting time can be spent on hearing the voice of Gray and their family, their school team, and the hospital staff, and an opportunity to note Gray's strengths and discuss their present needs. This is also a time to assign team members to certain roles and responsibilities. In Gray's case, the team assigned the homeroom teacher as the key academic support staff, the school counselor as the key mental health support staff, and the school-based BCBA as the behavior support staff. They also established a plan for providing supports to the family. In Gray's case, Gray's family could be provided with supports regarding navigating insurance challenges or informational resources for parents supporting youth through gender identity transitions and managing anxiety and depression. Additionally, the team can connect the family with community assets, such as a local family resource center. A key decision at this meeting is determining how much support or the intensity and level of support that Gray may need throughout their hospital to school transition process across academics, mental health, and behavioral health needs. The team can leave this initial meeting with a plan set up in place to follow up directly with Gray, as well as a plan for the school-based team to meet directly to more specifically outline which interventions and supports can be put in place to support Gray within school. When the school team reconvenes, they can more thoroughly complete the hospital to school protocol and any supplemental documents in order to really outline where Gray is within the phases of hospital to school transition process, and to determine which interventions are most likely to effectively support their successful transition back to school. During this meeting, the team will spend more time reviewing the recommendations made by the inpatient psychiatric team, specify the intensity or level of supports needed, determine interventions, and determine supports that the family may need as Gray navigates returning and reintegrating into their school and community routines. Again, this is another opportunity for us to very clearly outline whom will be responsible for implementing and monitoring data and progress of these information, of all of these different interventions. All of this information can then be summarized for the family and sent home to parents. Prior to plan implementation and upon Gray's return to school, it's critical that student voice be uplifted and incorporated into the plan. At this stage in the hospital to school transition process, we'll have outlined academic, behavioral, and mental health interventions, and they're going to be beginning to be implemented and monitored. During this phase, we'll also have clear communication efforts established. That way we can effectively communicate between school, family, and community-based providers routinely. The next 3 slides are snapshots, examples of supports and interventions that were put in place to support Gray throughout their hospital to school transition. The team determined that Gray will need moderate supports for academic stamina and instruction and maximum supports for behavioral health. Overall, the team decides to structure academics in a manner that will minimize Gray's feelings of stress and feeling overwhelmed. Therefore, Gray will be given extended deadlines on things such as key homework and larger projects, and will be provided with structured times before and after school to complete these assignments. Additionally, as Gray is a high-risk student with a potential for harm for themselves, case management, counseling, positive relationship building, and establishment of safe spaces within the school setting are of key importance in supporting their reintegration into the school community. Additionally, the team decided that Gray would return to school on a partial day schedule, and they also determined that special education and a 504 considerations would be revisited after 10 to 12 weeks of intervention, implementation, and monitoring. Throughout youth action planning, Gray self-advocated certain supports. These included explicitly naming trusted adults in the school building, establishing plans to communicate their absence to their peers, and sorting out safety plans for managing triggering emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. It also included crisis management steps that Gray can follow when stressful situations arise. Regarding academics, their homeroom teacher will coordinate with Gray and their academic team to identify missed exams, assignments, and projects. A check-in schedule and a tutoring schedule will also be set. Behavioral supports include the BCBA engaging in biweekly observations of Gray and the use of an observation checklist for teaching staff to monitor Gray's overall participation and engagement. These supports will also include the development of a break plan to support Gray's social emotional wellness and academic stamina. Mental health supports include the school counselor establishing a check-in, check-out plan for Gray and a schedule of weekly DBT counseling sessions to focus on building emotional awareness and healthy coping strategies. Some additional notes to support the family include ensuring that the family is connected with emotional supports and psychoeducational resources. There's also a clear plan to coordinate and communicate monthly with Gray's outpatient therapist and psychiatrist. This serves to just strengthen that alignment between our school and family and home supports. Lastly, the team plans to coordinate to send updates to Gray's parents regarding their social emotional progress weekly by email, as that was their preference, and that will occur every Friday. The following image is an intervention grid with interventions and care coordination components outlined. The grid demonstrates that within the teaming process and in the completion of the hospital to school transition protocol, the goal is for teams to organize efficiently around planning interventions, data collection, assigning point personnel, and establishing consistent and routine communication plans. Having this information clearly outlined will support the team in evaluating if Gray is making sufficient progress toward their goals. Because of how intensive Gray's needs were upon returning to school, the team reconvenes after 2 weeks to discuss Gray's progress. At this meeting, Gray's academic, behavioral, and mental health progress are discussed. The data is carefully reviewed to evaluate trends in progress. It also serves as an opportunity for the team to obtain any updated releases of information for any new outpatient providers or community supports. Following the progress monitoring team meeting, the team continues to engage in implementation of intervention supports and continued progress monitoring. Again, the goals of these processes are to ensure that there is consistency in intervention implementation, data gathering, and database decision-making. This will allow us to have a more thorough understanding of Gray's successes over time. Continuing with teaming efforts, Gray's support team can then reconvene in a meeting to discuss Gray's response to intervention, make any intervention adjustments, and to revisit IEP or 504 considerations. This meeting serves to assess Gray's current level of functioning with the present intensity of supports in place. For example, some of the updates and decisions made in this meeting for Gray included providing updates regarding Gray's new behavioral health providers, reviewing Gray's school schedule, and reviewing Gray's academic stamina and social emotional skill progress. This is also an opportunity to know any recent trends in the strengths, concerns, and symptoms and behaviors that Gray is demonstrating at school, at home, and within the community. This tool should be utilized in a manner that is most responsive, relevant, and feasible for your school community. The BIRCh team recognizes that there's certainly limitations and there can be a negative impact of language, and that can be especially critical when we're thinking about the ways that language can perpetuate inequitable systems. So please feel free to rename the titles of these documents and make any other adjustments in language throughout the protocol if you feel that your team would be more culturally responsive to the needs of your school community. Our hope is to align the hospital school transition supports within your existing systems and teaming structures within MTSS or behavioral health initiatives. Please feel free to use this protocol and case study as an example in the ways that can help you to guide the teaming, planning, and bidirectional communication with students, families, communities, and hospital-based providers. We invite you to please complete an evaluation form of this module by visiting the link on this slide. Again, thank you so much for viewing this module and seeking to learn more about supporting students who are transitioning back to school following mental health challenges. We want to thank you for your time and attention to the behavioral health needs of students. At our website, you can sign up for our subscription list to get more information on best practices for supporting student behavioral health. We would love to hear from you. Please reach out to us with thoughts, questions, or concerns. And of course, we hope you view the rest of our modules on the hospital to school transition process as your team is working to build capacity for supporting students with intensive behavioral health needs. Again, take care and thank you so much for all of your hard work and dedication in supporting our students.